Hey everyone, I am here with a special video that I have not done in about 2 years. So I'm interested in if anyone has watched the first time I did this video, which is called Doing Nothing. It would be actually really unique to have people kind of contrast when I first did that video to do it now. Just all the different things they might have noticed, because 2 years ago, I wasn't where I am today. So there's a lot of different things, my tone, the way I say things. My public speaking skills, which weren't really a problem, but they've definitely improved from all the content and stuff I've done in my life. But I think this is a really important topic to cover because many of the people that I coach, many of the people in the webinars, people I speak to all over, our different platforms, Instagram, our Facebook group, my Instagram, Rob's, the Twitter account, they want to know, what do I do when I'm not actively working on OCD and anxiety recovery? Because there's many ways where you could be working on your recovery, but you're not actively doing an exposure or a forced exposure. You're not actively sitting down and you're actually doing disputing homework or doing something where the foot is what I like to call on the gas, which I got that from Rob. Before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below. A lot of you have asked for this video specifically, so I'm happy to say I have it. I'm going to bring it to you with a lot of great pieces of insight, hopefully, that many people find this video, because there's a lot of myths out there surrounding you need to have the foot on the gas at all times. You have to always be pushing. And this isn't true, because there's many ways where we don't need to, well, we can't force recovery, but there's many times where we really do have to take the foot off the gas and just live with symptoms. And if you're struggling with this is usually perpetuated by the fear of not doing recovery right, the fear of getting something wrong, the fear of you being the reason why you're still stuck. Am I getting something wrong? Am I stupid? Am I not getting this? They seem to be getting it easier. Why can't I get it? Please email us at phil@ocdrecovery.com and we'll get back to you in timely fashion. I just poured myself a nice cup of coffee for 5 o'clock at night because I'm very excited to do this video. We went for a good hike today. It was in about 1.6 miles, or about 3 kilometers for you who don't use miles, non-Americans. It was about 2,300 feet of elevation gain. So it was a very, very intense vertical hike, which is right by my house, which I love doing every once in a while when I don't want to travel far for hikes, because my hiking buddy gets a damn migraine and can't go. Frustration tolerance. So let's just jump directly into it. When you're going through OCD and anxiety recovery, there are certain things that we have to do to give us the best opportunity to reach OCD and anxiety recovery. I was watching a hiking documentary the other day called Thin Lines. 20 of the world's best climbers came out in 2019. One of the climbers said, and I put this on my Instagram, it was such a great quote, one of the unique aspects of life is going all in on something and still realizing you may come up empty-handed. I thought, that is such a good quote. I want to put that on my Instagram because that fully shows the reality of OCD and anxiety recovery. Now look, if you read the books, Practice Acceptance, Decrease Compulsions and Avoidance Behaviors, and where all the other in-between, ups and downs, you're going to give yourself a high probability to reaching OCD and anxiety recovery, but there's no promises. And I thought it was a really good quote. So when you're not disputing, reading the books on the reading list, when you're not doing forced exposures, ones that you have to kind of get in there and do the tiny ones that you're really afraid of. And there was a lot for me that I put off because I did the big ones in my body dysmorphia specifically, or certain low frustration tolerance ones. But it wasn't until I hit rock bottom, as Rob said, where I thought, I don't want to live like this anymore. And I had that multiple times where I would hit rock bottom, do some work, coast, go back down again, do some work, coast. It was all over the place. And then one day I just realized I don't have to live my life like this anymore, hopefully, and I'm just going to go all in. And I front flipped into the fire of OCD, which really spiked my anxiety up again. My stomach problems, my OCD symptoms, such as anxiety, heart palpitations, blurry vision, irritability. So it really poured a lot of gasoline on the fire, but it was what was needed for me to reach where I am today and really kind of catapult myself to a much higher level, a robust level of unconditional self-life, other acceptance. So when you're not doing those things, what are some other things that you can work on where you're not actively working on particular aspects to, say, target your fear? And maybe you have existential fear of being in a vacuum, or fear of everyone being dead in a simulation. Harm OCD, POCD, fear of your values becoming false and you like your particular thoughts, and that means you're a monster and you have to go to jail. But on top of all these other things, sensory motor, one of the genesis drivers in the front seat of OCD, whether you see it or not, is your fear of being stuck forever. So that's the fear of fear. And this is why this video is so important, because it helps you take the foot off of the gas and think, well, wait a second. I don't have to actively be working on recovery all the time. And this is a myth, again, that won't go away. There's a lot of myths out there, like you can't drink caffeine and recover. That rumination is automatically your fault. That's not true. Rumination is a symptom of your OCD. Are you analyzing a lot? Sure. Is there a lot of it that you're doing to yourself? Sure. Is there a lot of it that's automatic and will come down as a symptom of your core fear? Absolutely. If you're deathly afraid of being stuck forever, you're going to have all sorts of panic and anxiety sensations, symptoms, and thoughts because your OCD knows you're scared of being stuck forever. That's not something you can just stop. You have to work towards your worst case scenario, and those come down. This is the biggest misconception in OCD and anxiety disorders. That rumination is something that's primarily your operation, and you can stop it. I can always tell, when I see people speak about rumination, I can tell in 2 seconds whether they understand OCD or not. And unfortunately, and I don't mean to be blunt about this, there's probably less than 5 people on the planet that really understand OCD. And all of them have worked with OCD all the time, and they've all recovered from it. I can't really see how you're going to really understand OCD without actually experiencing it at the chronic levels, like myself, and wanting to kill myself and being in the mental hospital and coming out the other side and dragging through the mud for a few years. It's not possible, in my opinion. Doesn't mean people can't help, but there's an emotional attachment through experience. Same principle like you're going to war. You can read 100 books on World War II. Unless you stormed Normandy Beach, got off into the water, watched all your friends get their heads blown off and all that stuff, you're not going to be able to relate with that person. That's just an acceptance part of life. Everything is not a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's very important to cover that. So going back to the other stuff. So let's start with life structure, which I know is repeated a lot, but how's your sleep schedule? Are you sleeping in a lot? How's your social media schedule? Are you scrolling for hours on end? Are you playing a lot of video games? Are you part-time at work? Are you skipping a lot of meals because you're anxious or fear of symptoms based around gastrointestinal symptoms? Bloating, gassy, going to the bathroom in public. I know a lot of people I work with, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have my stomach upset on an airplane. I don't want to have to go diarrhea when I'm in a public setting. All fear, over and over and over again, which I struggled from all those, by the way. I don't really talk about those a lot, but stomach symptoms were a very big problem for me. Bad. Pain, gassy, bloating, skipping meals, very afraid of having stomach symptoms, fear, surrounding them, never going away, and labeling them as horrible. How's your relationships? Not in an ROCD sense. How's your relationships? Are they good? There things that you have to work on behaviorally? Are you taking time asking your partner, how was your day? One thing I really like that Jordan Peterson says, life isn't having margaritas on the beach. You could do that, but that gets old after a while, usually. But it's how you greet your wife or your husband every day, or your partner, whoever you're with. How you hold their hand down the street. How you ask them how their day was, even when you don't want to. How you operate in the household. How you conversate, how you review finances, regardless of how you're feeling. So those are all the other things you can work on when you're not actively working on bringing down a particular fear. Now, there was large periods of my recovery journey where I actively did nothing. Now, what do I mean by doing nothing? Because that's really the title of the video. I mean that you're going throughout your life, working on your structure, wearing urges, learning to wear urges, learning to wear intrusive thoughts, images, sensations, and the urges, of course, as you go throughout your day, working on your life structure, and you're building your frustration tolerance. I've never met anyone who recovered from OCD who was afraid of being burned out and took a lot of time off from work. I never met anyone who was recovered from OCD or anxiety-based disorders. I'm going to say OCD, but I mean all anxiety-based disorders. OCD, PTSD, GAD, body dysmorphic disorder, and panic disorder. All of those were beliefs are really driving a lot of this stuff. And by the way, these particular belief systems, unconditional self-life, other acceptance, I don't talk about this because it's not my specialty. It's not what I work at. This works for everything. It works for bipolar, schizophrenia, regardless of whether it's OCD or not, because so many of you have that fear. It works because it works. Looking at life through an unconditional self-life, other acceptance perspective, detaching your identity from your actual behaviors, which many people don't want to do because they like the power it gives them when things are going well, but then they don't want when things don't go well, like an athlete who gets hurt and then they lose their career. And then they're like, oh my God, my life is horrible, because they don't want to detach the two, because when things are good, it makes them feel really good. So you can work on, and I'm just throwing all these little tidbits of information that I had to learn and I had to practice and I apply to the hundreds, if not thousands of people I work with in coaching calls and webinar services. So looking at that, that's what we mean by doing nothing. I give a lot of people homework. She wouldn't mind me saying this. Marley, someone I've been working with for about a year, Marley didn't dispute on paper for the first 8 months, maybe 6 months. And she would say to me, do you think, because I could tell she really wanted to dispute. And then after a while, one time she said to me, and she'll laugh when she watches this, do you think I have to dispute on paper? And I said, you could now, but look how much progress you made without ever disputing on paper. This looks different. It's not a one-to-one ratio. Some people have a lot of lazy behavioral traits and they would benefit from the structure. Some people need to decrease that and work on other areas. As you change your behaviors, your compulsions and your avoidance behaviors, you do work on unconditional acceptance when I explain that to you properly. Just doing exposures does not touch unconditional acceptance in the way that most people believe. But if I explain it properly and show them how it does, they have an awareness of it without needing to write it on paper. Everyone's situation will be different. Every single person I coach, every single new person that comes in, and there's a lot of them coming in, I look at them as a new individual, case by case, and every single person needs different recommendations. Everyone needs different things. And then there's obviously the things that go across the board. Facing fears, changing your behaviors, looking at life structure, stuff like that. So you don't always have to actively be working on recovery in the exposure sense force, because life's going to give you exposures. Let's say I'm giving you some sort of a homework assignment where you're just bringing everything for the ride and you're working on your structure. And let's say you have social anxiety or severe fear of rejection surrounding harm, POCD, moral-related responsibility, religious, and cheating. All of those combined, social anxiety, etc. When you go to work and you face life from a behavioral standpoint, life is going to give you every single exposure you could ever ask for. And there's a time and place for targeted exposures. There's a time and place for exposures that come randomly. I see a lot of black and white stuff on social media where the only thing that matters is a targeted exposure. That's absolutely not true. Let's say you have a mixture of harm, POCD, and social responsibility and the fear of being a bad person. And let's say you're in the grocery store, okay? You and I are in the grocery store and we're checking out. We look behind us and there's a mother with her kid. And the kid's a kid and he's in the stroller and he does what kids do and they're taking their clothes off and they're lifting their legs in the air and you see something that you don't want to see. This has happened numerous times in my life. Everyone can relate to this, but many people are afraid to even talk about this. The fear of a thing instills the fear itself. Hermione Granger, Harry Potter, boom, that's right, dabbed it. And I just quoted Hermione Granger from Harry Potter because I'm a loser. So the fear of a thing, the fear of a thing itself creates, damn, I forgot it now, but it was in the second Harry Potter where she's talking to Malfoy's father. When that happens and you feel that ultimate rise in anxiety and the urge to run, you could wear that as best as you can while failing multiple times as you go throughout your day. This is something that many people experience, OCD sufferers or not. That's not in a reassurance way. That's life. That's what people go through. Many people don't want to talk about it because of societal rejection, but there's many things out there that many people don't want to talk about because they're afraid of rejection. I'll give you another example. Let's say you have cancel culture and you're a guy and you're out in public and you're at the grocery store. We'll use a grocery store. You're at an ice cream shop and you see someone you think they're attractive and they turn around, they might be a minor. Maybe they're 16, 17. You can never tell what people age they are with all the clothes people wear. It's a little bit different than 1970 where you see those memes about this is the way that teenagers dressed in 1970 versus 2020. It's very different. Something many people go through. OCD sufferers or not. People don't talk about it because of the societal norms. I'm not afraid to talk about anything because I'm not really afraid of the judgment. Well, not really. I'm not afraid of the judgment or the rejection from other people. That doesn't mean it doesn't bother me. It doesn't mean that I don't feel the healthy remorse, healthy guilt, and healthy shame feelings that may be accompanied by these particular randomized acts throughout life, but they no longer have a grip on me because I've broken down my fears. So that's a great example. You see them, you say, oh shit. Was that person a minor? Was that person 17? Were they 18? Oh my God, were they looking at me? Was I looking at them incorrectly? Oh my God. The internal conversation goes. That's going to go automatically. That's the automatic rumination I talked about. You're learning to wear that and say, well, wait a second. I'm going to go on with my day as best as I can. You're not talking away the thought. You're allowing it to be there. The first couple times you will fall into those internal dialogues, not even the automatic ones you will try, you're going to have to catch yourself. Like if I was triggered in that situation now, there is no internal dialogue. It just, the trigger's there, and then I go about my life. I'm not going to look at it later. That's what I mean by doing nothing. Life will, again, sorry to be, repetitive, but it's very important. And I know some of this stuff can sound boring and monotonous. Life will give you exposures in and of itself. And that's what we mean by doing nothing. But if you have the foot on the gas all the time, if you're forcing exposures, big myth, that exposures can't become compulsive. They certainly can. Disputing your irrational beliefs can certainly become compulsive. We've had to take the tools, thank you to Rob, take the tools. We've had to redirect them and apply them to OCD and anxiety sufferers, right? You're like it's like a Mortal Kombat, the finishing move. I have to stop drinking caffeine at 5 o'clock at night because I go off on tangents. But that's what makes it unique. And I like to make people laugh. So, but we've had to take those principles, we've had to redirect them, okay? And think, okay, well, we can't dispute all day long because that's compulsive. We can't think about our belief systems all day long because that's compulsive. We can't force exposures. We've had to take the tools, the principles work, we've had to reapply them towards OCD and anxiety-based recovery because it's important. So I hope you really enjoyed this video. You do not have to be actively working on recovery all day long. When you're building your life structure and learning to wear the automatic rumination, keyword wear rumination, not trying to stop all of it. Yes, you can stop some of it. A lot of it's, like I said, symptom, like a cough when you have a cold, when you have the flu, but learning to wear all that as you build structure, as you go to the gym, as you eat meals when you feel like you're going to puke, when you conversate with your partner when you just don't want to, when you go on vacations when you're afraid you're going to have diarrhea in the bathroom, when you're doing all these things, you don't have to actively be working on recovery in the way that you think, because that is working on recovery in another sense. Thank you so much for watching this video. I was very excited when I was hiking today. This is the way because I'm so passionate about this stuff because of my personal experience, of course, like most things in life. And I'm hiking today. I'm on this, like literally hiking on something like this. Erica's like, stop walking so fast. And I'm like grabbing on the trees because my legs are falling in this, because we just had a bunch of rain and mud. And I'm thinking, I can't wait to come home later and make this video on doing nothing. So, because that's what I like to do. So I'm going to cross this one out on my list now, just to give you an update again of what's coming up. I think it's important to do this. I have my next video called Handling Thoughts and all the myths surrounding handling thoughts and why OCD takes orders from beliefs and not thoughts. After that, I have wearing urges, 0 to 100 urges, how to wear those urges, how to distance yourself from them, the mistakes you'll fall into, and then proving oneself based on conditional acceptance. Please write down below stuff you want me to do. If they're broad topics or even kind of detailed, I can go into them. If they're very, very, very specific, I'm not going to make an entire video. Sometimes I do, usually not, but I will add them into other stuff. Thank you again, and remember, Phil at OCDrecovery.com, and we will get back to you in a timely fashion. Have a good one, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day or night.